name's Charlie, and we're learning about science and space through the movement of dance with our friend Darcy. And today we're learning about the moon. The moon is 384,400 kilometres from our planet Earth. If the Earth was the size of a basketball, the moon would be about the size of a tennis ball. At this scale, they'd be approximately 24 feet apart. If you've got a tennis ball and a basketball at home, why don't you try the same thing and you can really see what that scale is like. It wasn't humans that first landed on the moon, it was Lunar 2, a space probe. The Soviets put the first thing on the moon. But who landed the first humans? It was the United States. Astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin stepped onto the moon in July 1969.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Around 650 million people watched them worldwide. That was called the Apollo 11 mission. There were 6 more missions that took astronauts to the moon. They launched an enormous Saturn V rocket and landed in the lunar module. There wasn't a huge amount of room on board. In fact, there wasn't even enough space for a toilet. So instead, they used fecal bags. The top of the fecal bag has a round piece which is sticky and sticks to your bottom so that when you go to the toilet, everything stays inside the bag. What would you take if you were going to the moon? They even collected samples of moon rock, like the one we have here at the National Space Centre from the Apollo 17 mission, and left experiments on the surface which we still use today. On Apollo 15, 16 and 17, they took lunar rovers so that they could sample rocks from a larger area. Scientists and engineers had to design a vehicle that could work with the lack of atmosphere, extreme temperature and difficult terrain of lots of craters and moon dust. They were folded up so they could fit inside the lunar module, and they were lowered using ropes and pulleys. They had a top speed of around 8 miles per hour, and Velcro fastened seatbelts to keep the astronauts in place, a T-shaped hand control to steer the rover across the surface. Having lunar rovers on those last Apollo missions meant that astronauts could travel further, do more explorations and collect more scientific experiments. Unfortunately, they had to be left on the moon. There are still 3 rovers on the surface, and maybe one day, if you go to the moon, you might get the chance to drive one. Now we've learned all about the moon, let's go to Darcy and the Space Cadets to do some dance. Make sure you're all warmed up and you've got lots of space to move around.
Hi everyone, my name's Darcy and today we're going to be travelling across the surface of the moon. We're going to be seeing what we might come across on our journey and thinking about how we might move around those things. So as a group today we've been talking about what we might come across on the moon and we came up with some words. So our first one was flag, because of the astronauts that might have been to the moon and popped their flag on its surface. We also thought we might come across some rocks, some big craters, some small craters, and perhaps even some footprints that have been left by astronauts. So, we started to think about how these words might make us move. So for flag, we decided that actually the first thing we would do is act as the flag. So we decided it would need to stand really still. It might be that you can think of a different way that you want to be a flag, or you might decide you want to learn our way. So we stand like a flag. Our second movement, we then let go of our flag to move around the flag, and to the next thing, we've got to go all the way around it and turn a corner, because we can't go through it, can we, on our moon buggy or in our spacesuit. We've got to go round it. So, first move, flag. Second move, around we go. Then we hit some rocks. Now, we decided that if we were in our moon buggy, we would actually be quite bumpy going over some rocks. And we thought about loads of different ways that we might be quite bumpy. Now, the group today decided that we were going to actually be bumped from side to side on our moon buggy. So it's as if we're going over rocks and we're going to bump 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then actually we decided we were going to hit quite a big rock, and it was going to make us, fall over. So from the beginning, we've got our flag. We go round the corner. We bump over our rocks. 1, 2, 3, 4. We hit a big one. And we fall to the floor. Then, what do we hit next? A big crater. Now I want you to imagine that the crater in front of you is quite long and really deep, so we've got to go down quite a fair way. We thought about lots of different movements we could do on the floor and lots of different ways that we could travel. You might be able to think of some really interesting ways to travel through a crater and up the other side, but the group today decided that we were going to fall down into the crater, we were going to crawl forwards across it, and then we were going to come back up to finish. So, shall we add that on? We start with flag, nice and still and straight. We go round the flag, we hit some rocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, a big one, oof, down to the floor, and coming back up again. Then we hit our big crater. So once again, we're going down, we're crawling forwards, and we're coming back up. Next thing we hit is a small crater. So we thought about perhaps it's not as deep, and perhaps it's not as long. So we decided we were just going to take a really big lunge step that's going to take us into nearly kneeling on the floor, and then we're going to heave ourselves back up again to the other side. So after getting up from our big crater, from crawling on the floor, we take a big lunge step, we bring it back up, and then we're on the other side. The last thing was our favourite. It was our footprints. Now we decided that we were going to create our own footprints on the surface of the Earth. So I want you to imagine that you've got your massive spacesuit on, you've got your big astronaut's helmet, and you're going to walk really slow, really big steps. We're going to do 4, 3, 4. And I want you to imagine that your spacesuit is very heavy, and you've really got to put some effort into those steps to make your footprints. Shall we rewind, go all the way back to our flag and pop that all together? Now, as I said earlier, if you can think of some different moves for kind of coming across these things on the moon's surface, then that is brilliant, and you can do your own moves. Or you can copy me and we can do the ones that the group thought of earlier. So we start with our flag. We go flag, we go around the flag. We hit our rocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, over the top. Then we come back up. We then hit our big crater. Ready? Down we go. Crawling across our big crater, coming back up. We've then got our small crater. We take a big step and come back up. We've then got our spacesuit on. We do our massive 2, 3, 4 footprints. you so much for joining me on the moon today and doing our moves for each thing that we might find on its surface. You might be able to think of some more things that you might find on its surface and add to our routine at home. But whatever you do, whether you keep it as it is in our routine or you add on your own moves, I hope you have loads of fun on the moon, and I hope to see you again next time. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed dancing with Darcy and our Space Cadets today. Please join us next week when we find out all about planet Mars. Goodbye everyone.